Gilson Mesquita has a curious life story, that of someone who, faced with an incurable illness, has often crossed the line between life and death, and every time he returns, he sees more clearly a single mission: to prepare the ones he loves for the farewell. The story we're about to tell shows, without sugarcoating, what the process of letting go of earthly ties is like, the changes in feelings, the memories of out-of-body experiences, and the expanded understanding of what the connection with the world of the dead is really like, which in truth is more alive than the one we're living in, and what it's like to live between these two worlds and what truly matters in that crossing. Hello, I'm Marcus, and it's a pleasure to have you here at Beyond the Life We Live. I hope you feel at home and absorb the lesson from the story we're about to share. By the way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it's very important to us and helps bring more impactful stories to you. Gilson is dealing with a rare disease called amyloidosis, which causes proteins to build up incorrectly in his organs, especially in the central nervous system. This leads to a gradual breakdown in the way his body functions, affecting everything from internal organs to the control of movement and basic functions. Over time, the disease kept getting worse, with symptoms growing stronger and the crises becoming more frequent and more intense. Doctors had no treatment options left, and he was trying to avoid increasing his morphine doses because even though it helped ease the pain, he could feel it was making things worse overall. One day, during one of the more serious crises, Gilson went further. This crisis, unlike the others, was taking him into a near-death experience. He saw himself outside his body, watching his own life like it was a movie, feeling only peace and love, with no worry at all about the people he was leaving behind. In that state, emotions are completely different from what we feel here. There's no anxiety, no longing, no concern, just a deep sense of peace with himself and everything around him. He didn't think about his daughter or his wife at that moment. It felt like everything was already settled. However, during the experience, he was shown how much his wife and daughter would suffer if he left so suddenly. He saw future images and understood that his wife would be devastated, and his daughter would also suffer deeply. The spiritual beings who were with him offered the chance to go back to his body for a little while longer to help them get more prepared for his goodbye. He accepted this mission of his own free will, even knowing it would only be temporary, because he felt it was important to soften the impact of his departure for the ones he loved. Back in his body, the disease kept progressing. He began to realize he was being prepared for the final transition. He started noticing that spiritual beings were guiding him to slowly let go of everything that tied him to earthly life: habits, desires, thoughts, feelings of attachment. Over time, his love for his family didn't go away, but it started to feel different, lighter, without that heaviness. He understood that if he passed away still deeply attached to the people and things here, it would be harder to adjust on the other side. During this time, Gilson also began to have dreams and memories of a place he recognized as his home, a kind of spiritual colony. There, he worked helping people who had died suddenly, guiding them as they adapted to their new reality. The place was very bright with lots of glass, and he was part of a team that welcomed those souls. The beings told him that when his time came, he would go back to that work because he had already been part of that group before being born. As the illness got worse, Gilson began to feel like he wasn't fully here anymore. His physical body felt heavy and hard to manage, and his awareness seemed to expand, giving him a deeper understanding of everything he had lived through and was still living. He began to see more clearly the meaning of life, relationships, the lessons we learn, and he realized that his near-death experience wasn't just for him, but also to help others wake up to a better way of living. The spiritual beings explained that many people are having these kinds of experiences because the planet is going through a major shift. Because of this, there will come a time when many will have their last chance to keep evolving here, and those who can't keep up will need to start over in a less evolved world. Gilson describes that, outside the body, awareness and understanding are much greater, because it's no longer limited by the physical brain like it is here. There, everything is so different that you immediately feel a connection with everything and everyone, but strangely, without losing your sense of self. It creates such a deep feeling of joy and love that almost nobody wants to come back unless they're convinced there's still something or someone really important to do or to meet. He compares the feeling to being in the ocean, surrounded by everything, but still being yourself. He also remembers a detail that came to him in that state of awareness, something about the planning that happens before coming to Earth. According to him, there's a kind of agreement made with others about what each one will live and learn here. Often, the family is chosen to create opportunities to love someone who, in another life, might have been the source of conflict or pain. That's why family is so important. It's where the biggest healing and growth happen. He explains that sometimes a child is born with the mission to love a father who in a past life was once his aggressor, so both can evolve. In the dying process, feelings tied to the family that stayed behind are blocked at first to make the detachment easier. Later, little by little, the person can revisit their life and reconnect with their loved ones, but by then, without the pain of attachment. Gilson shares that he dreamed of his mother, already elderly and struggling with memory issues, being welcomed on the other side by relatives who had already passed. In the dream, he himself was helping to receive her, showing her she wasn't alone and that everything would be all right. He felt that if he could, he would want to help her in that moment of transition because he knew it would be confusing for her since her mind was so fragile. That's because crossing over isn't automatic. There's a process similar to birth. First, the spirit detaches, then starts adapting to the new state, and in time, the person is able to review their entire life, clearly understand everything, including what others were feeling and thinking during those moments. The most surprising part is that it seems there isn't any outside judge. Each person feels and evaluates their own journey, experiencing both the pain they caused and the good they did. He says that when someone reviews their life, they feel every moment, their own emotions, and the other person's pain too. And that's when the judgment happens, not from someone else, but from within. He realized that in the spiritual plane, everything is more alive. Everything has life, and the connection to the whole is very strong. Souls only come back to life on Earth when they need to fulfill what was planned before they were born. He says everything there is much clearer. Truth shows up without masks, and the soul needs to be ready to face both themselves and others with total honesty. Gilson emphasizes that the purpose of life here isn't to suffer, but to learn, grow, and practice love. Religions, even with their flaws, help guide that learning and promote kindness among people. But the most important thing is to live well, to connect, to accept yourself, and to help others. Isolation might help some, but real growth happens in the daily interactions with others. In the end, even feeling weak and in pain, Gilson feels he is fulfilling his mission. He understands that sharing all of this can bring comfort and clarity to others going through similar situations, showing that death is not the end, but a natural continuation of learning and love. He feels grateful for the chance to come back, to prepare his family, to better understand himself, and to share everything he's learned. What he wants most is for people to understand that life goes on, that everyone has the chance to grow, and that love is what truly matters in every part of existence.